Ladies, gentlemen, and misses, greetings from your respective positions. Once again, you are welcome here on the platform of Awakening of Consciences. This is the headline of continental news, the headline of African news. In the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, the news is tightening around the regime of Alassane Dramane Ouattara, a political regime that has decided to make life difficult for Ivorians. Alassane Dramane Ouattara, in his quest to remain in power indefinitely, is seeking to exclude certain candidates from the electoral list. Others he has attempted to exclude through the issue of nationality. Fortunately, thank God, this has been resolved. I think very well, Tchiani Théa has won his case. But the biggest problem that remains is the registration on the electoral list of Laurent Gbagbo, Charles Blé Goudé, etc. People who have been removed from the electoral list because obviously they are accused of being at the root of what happened in Côte d'Ivoire, while we know that the International Criminal Court has acquitted them. This means that these people have nothing to do with this matter, and that the real culprits of what happened in Côte d'Ivoire were still in power, certainly. So, it's the UN that steps in, since very recently, President Laurent Gbagbo and President Tchiani Théa have both decided to withdraw from the electoral process, no longer recognizing the institution responsible for organizing the presidential elections in the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. As a result, the UN has dispatched an envoy. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is the news we will be discussing in this video conference, which I ask you to share as much as possible. Give it lots of likes. Don't forget to click on subscribe. Subscribe so you don't miss our video conferences, but also and above all, make sure you activate the notification bell. Welcome once again to the platform of Awakening of Consciences. It has caused quite a stir in the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. Is Laurent Gbagbo winning the battle against Alassane Dramane Ouattara? What remains clear is that since January, President Gbagbo had announced the arrival of a United Nations mission in Côte d'Ivoire. To meet with him, of course. Said and done. It was yesterday, Friday, April 17th. No, April 18th, 2025, that the United Nations envoy, the UN Deputy Secretary General, named Leonardo Santos Simão, who is the Special Representative of the UN for West Africa and the Sahel. He traveled with a strong delegation to the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire to meet with the President, former President Laurent Gbagbo. President Laurent Gbagbo received them in his office. They exchanged views. They listened to the concerns, in any case firsthand, the concerns of Laurent Gbagbo. And these concerns, obviously, as everyone already knows, Laurent Gbagbo did not hesitate to lay them out in front of them. And the objective of the United Nations, according to the statement by the Deputy Secretary General of Antonio Guterres, Leonardo Santos Simão, is that Côte d'Ivoire should experience presidential elections without violence. That is the objective of the United Nations. And because everything is being implemented by the Ouattara regime to ensure that the elections may experience unrest, as if what has happened for a very long time has not served as a lesson to him. And so, he's going very far. So, the United Nations listened to Laurent Gbagbo. This Secretary General takes advantage of his presence, obviously, to also listen to other political actors. But But what remains clear is that this is a first victory for Laurent Gbagbo. Because for there to be an election, there must be candidates. The UN, which obviously recognizes him as a candidate, is why the UN approaches Laurent Gbagbo to understand his concerns. Even if the UN has already learned through the press, the UN sends its special envoy, dispatches its special envoy to listen firsthand and see as much as possible what solution needs to be found. However, in this particular case, the solution to be found is the reinstatement of Laurent Gbagbo on the electoral list, and then establish a credible electoral system that will function properly, ensuring that the results from the polls will be accepted and acceptable by the parties. But with the way things are going, we can already see that if we continue on this path that Alassane Dramane Ouattara has embarked on, after the elections, even before the elections, disputes will arise. So, there is a very high risk, which we do not wish for, of a sort of pre-electoral tension. Not to mention even imagining the tensions that could arise or emerge during the electoral period and even after the electoral period. It should be mentioned that this return of Laurent Gbagbo to the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, which was so feared by Alassane Dramane Ouattara, Ouattara's greatest fear, risks becoming a reality. You know, if Laurent Gbagbo spent more than 10 years of his life, let's put it that way, in The Hague, it's because Ouattara wanted to have the necessary time to govern well. So that's why he told his partners, we need to keep him on the back burner. But after all, destiny and time having revealed that, Laurent Gbagbo and his associate, what's his name? Charles Blé Goudet, were not responsible. They were acquitted. It was therefore a legal and moral duty for President Ouattara to welcome him back to the soil of their native homeland. Laurent Gbagbo came. He started giving speeches, really, to allow him to settle in well. And since he has been well established, well settled, Laurent Gbagbo raises his voice without fear and without worry. So, we will see what this will lead to. The pressure that the UN is currently exerting, let's say, indirectly for now, on the Ouattara regime, what will it lead to? We hope that it will give rise to something good, something positive. Since we do not want Côte d'Ivoire to relive what it has experienced, may God truly protect us from that. So, the situation we are facing in the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, here is how it presents itself, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for sharing this video conference. Share it as much as possible in all groups. I will get back to you shortly, by the grace of the Almighty, with new updates. That was the voice of your one and only samurai.